Before we read, and maybe I could get Bob to read, Bob Yeager, but just to mention, people are wanting to know about this fire that's in Myrtle Beach,
Oh,
but it's it's got on national news and people are calling in, but it's about maybe 15 miles away from us. Some of last night the smoke was, came over the center, probably be due to the wind, but it's it's about at least almost 2 square miles or something like that, but it hasn't burned any buildings. So if you see me start to go up into flames, um, you just
is this the campaign?
I'll just say Baba's name as I'm fried. Okay, let's see. So Bob, if you Diane, if you can put that email up.
Okay. The topic, Self-forgetfulness, Baba Remembrance. Dear folks of Baba, over the years, many Baba lovers have shared with me that they find that their work in the world takes them away from their focus on Baba. Hours go by, preoccupied with mundane details at work that they feel have nothing to do with their spiritual life and only contribute to the bottom line of the companies they work for. They have barely any time to remember Baba until after work. This same scenario goes on year after year. Mine was the opposite problem, as I will describe, but an exchange with Eruch throws light on this whole subject. Back in the mid-1970s, before I began working at the center, a buddy of mine and I were working together as house painters. Much of our painting work was in Briarcliffe Acres, an upscale residential area just north of the center. Back then, I would describe myself as a Baba remembrance machine. I would say Baba, Baba, Baba inwardly with each brushstroke, while sanding, caulking, cutting in windows and baseboards, all with Baba's name. We worked together for 6 months, and then we went to India. One day, while at Marizod, we were sitting just outside Mondley Hall on a bench with Erich. My buddy asked, Erich, I work as a house painter, and sometimes hours go by and I haven't even thought of Baba. He's the most important being in the world, and he has asked us to make him our constant companion, and I'm often not even remembering him. What can I do about that? Erich replied in his very casual way, in the beginning, it is important to remember Baba, to repeat his name, see the movies, go where Baba has been, and read all the Baba literature. But in time, it becomes important to forget yourself. When you forget yourself, Baba can then live through you. You're not aware of it, but he is living through you. So lose yourself in your painting. He went on to say, get wholeheartedly lost in your activities, and when you come out of that absorption, remember Baba. That is, when you remember to remember, remember him. In that moment, I felt the undeniable truth of Erich's words. They were indelibly imprinted in the core of my being. When you forget yourself, Baba can then live through you. That was a turning point for me in my life with Baba, because I had become a bit rigid in remembering him all the time. I had lost the playfulness that had always been a part of me since childhood, the spontaneous enthusiasm of my college days, the genuine fun in life that I experienced over the years. Since that brief, life-changing conversation with Erich, I have found that self-forgetfulness and remembrance of Baba make a vital and complementary dynamic in my inner life. So this is how I translate Erich's words into my life. When I get into something, such as volleyball or music or gardening, I lose myself. Baba, as Erich said, can then live through me, even though I am not aware of it. And after the activity, I remember him. So it's an alternating between Baba remembrance and self-forgetfulness. I found when it was all Baba remembrance, I would become a little stiff and unnatural. And if it's all self-forgetfulness, that also can sometimes become unbalanced. Self-forgetfulness and Baba remembrance work beautifully and harmoniously together for me. That awareness freed me up to do a lot of things on the center that might not technically be considered Baba. Baba likes games, skits, jokes, movies, and spontaneous gatherings because in them we forget ourselves. Like gardening, you can lose yourself among the flowers and hours fly by. It's heavenly. I asked Margaret Crask's dancers, most of whom were deeply devoted to Baba, if they remembered him out on the stage in the midst of their performances. This was ballet at its highest level at the time. They all said that they remembered Baba before their performances and then lost themselves in their dancing on stage. Afterwards, they would dedicate their performance to Baba. They had all tried at one time to remember him during their performances, but they confessed that it took away from their total absorption in the dance. Have you faced this dilemma in your own life of getting into things so deeply that you forget Baba and then feeling that you are letting him down? Will what Eruch said make a difference in your approach to, say, your computer work, which can absorb your attention for hours? Does self-forgetfulness change the way you approach what you normally think of as unspiritual? Do you resolve this challenge by keeping Baba always there in the background while you focus on the practical details of life in the foreground? Do you sometimes find that you overdo getting into things and forget Baba, like watching football all day on Sunday? In his love, Jeff.
Jeff,
Um,
okay.
it,
I
is it,
muted everybody because there was some background sound. I didn't know who.
yeah,
Everybody
uh,
can mute while they're not talking.
yeah. Um, so welcome to the late night chat, and I'm just wondering. I mean, this was my experience, but I'm wondering if it resonates with any of you, or whether I back when I was young with Bob, I used to do everything in extremes. You people I know are all much more mature by now. But did you, do you sometimes run into that conflict between forgetting yourself and remembering Baba, working those out harmoniously within yourself? So, anybody want to venture out on this subject?
Well, I guess I'll start with just a short. This really helped me, Jeff, because I find that, for instance, if I'm out walking around the neighborhood enjoying the day, and I'm sort of repeating Baba's name or talking to him or just remembering him as I'm walking, that's all very nice. But as soon as I run into a neighbor, um, I'm involved in that conversation. I forget that I was thinking about Baba and I'm concentrating on uh, having a conversation with my neighbor, maybe uh, petting their dog or watching our dogs have fun together and just saying good morning and talking about the weather and finding out how they're doing and then I continue my walk and I think, oh, well, why couldn't I think about Baba at the same time I was doing that? Well, I feel a lot better about it now because I don't need to. It's I can't do two things at the same time. So even if I'm just sort of, not maybe not completely wholeheartedly um, engaged in something that deeply, still I'm engaged. I'm sort of living my daily life and just trying to be natural and friendly with my neighbors and sort of carry on. And then remembering Baba after those incidents are done. So yes, reading Erich's words and your thoughts about this was very helpful to me.
Good. Yeah. I mean, like I say, it was immensely helpful to me. And yeah, and you described it beautifully, Bob. Yeah.
Let's go to Tony.
Yeah.
Hi. Couple of things. One, I think it's lovely to take time when you have this time and the space to really enjoy it and take Baba's name out loud, silently, singing. and it's a wonderful thing in and of itself. Um, and throughout the day, when I remember, I'll do that, or I will say, "Oh, Baba, 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 Baba," in response to something. Um, but what the letter reminded me of was I was for about 7 months, 8 months, I think. I was the lead in an off-Broadway production of Phantom, of the opera, not the famous Broadway version, but one based closely on the book. And I played the author, who was also the investigative reporter, who was tracking down this story of an opera ghost. And I was on stage for 2 hours, and I was in scenes, or I was watching my my creations, because he wrote the story, and talking to the audience, going in the audience. What I would do is I would say the prayers silently before I went out. But then when I was on the stage, I would be a big stone on the stage. It would open like with me covered by dark cloths, as if there was a stone on the stage, and then I leap up out of that and I appear on the stage and I start my shtick. And during that time, I would just be saying, Baba, advice he gave to actors who had visited him in the 30s. I can and will express this part thoroughly. Or I am the greatest actor in the world. But mainly, I would say, Baba, you've got to do this through me. I can't possibly do this. I've studied my lines. I know what I'm supposed to do. But who can connect with an audience like that? I said, you have to. And I totally would turn it over to Baba, and I would leap up and I would start my lines. And at the end of the play, 2 hours later, I would say, Avatar Mayor Baba Ki Jay Baba. Thank you, Baba. And people would be moved. And after the first performance, a week later, we were in previews. Someone came up to me on the stage after the performance, and she said, I was here last week, and my husband and I were going through some really serious problems, financial problems, whatever it was, and your performance had such an effect on us that everything suddenly all worked out after that performance. I did something. I didn't do anything, except I let Baba do the performance. um, and it was at if you know the Cafe Wa in the village, there's a theater right next to it that's part of that complex. That's where it was. But couldn't possibly do that part if I was trying to remember lines. You have to become the character. You have to, whatever your work is, and let Baba take over. So I
Yeah.
relate. Yeah, I relate.
Beautiful description, Tony. Great example. Anyone else? I mean, have any of you had the problem of feeling like you're, absorbed in something, and you come out, you feel a little bit guilty because you haven't been remembering Baba at all, like the buddy of mine I described. Any of you run into that in your life? Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, there's a couple of guys.
All right, let's go to Rich and then we'll go to Prakash.
Got a quick take on this, and it's on the subject, but it's a little different, and that's that I have a hard time being me. And so when I can forget trying to be me and I let Baba just be me, I'm a better human being. I'm way better. And I actually sometimes enjoy myself. Does that come across?
Yeah. And, that's what Tony did, and Baba really enlivened the whole play. Yeah. Yeah, forgetting yourself. Eruch really put a lot of emphasis on forgetting ourselves in things. I mean, he even kind of indicated that it has sometimes more value than remembering Baba. There's a lot of us that comes through that's unself-conscious, But yeah.
Let's go to Ronnie.
Or with Prakash.
Huh? What happened to Prakash's hand?
It's up there. It looks like the sunrise there in the east, but
I'm not seeing a hand, but Prakash, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Great.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Jeff.
I see you
Nothing,
now. I'm
nothing
sorry.
special, but Jeff, I like that that comment you put in the letter regarding people getting lost watching football game. I do get lost often watching movies and stuff like that, and but unfortunately, I feel guilty after that. I mean, I said, "Oh God, I didn't remember Baba." But of course, the very fact that I'm feeling guilty itself helps me to remember him again. But I have lost precious 3 hours or 2 hours watching the movie. So I hope Baba does work through me in that intensity of my watching the movie. So I believe that's what Baba does, right? He used to watch cricket games and all that because he could do his work through all those guys who are concentrating on whatever is happening, and they forget themselves while absorbed so deeply in whatever they're watching. So I just have this question: if I'm watching a movie and I get lost, does Baba work through me? Because I'm definitely self-forgetful there, in a way, even though I'm feeling the emotions that I watch in the movie and everything. So that's a question I'll pose it to those who can answer here. And but I think self forgetfulness is more easier. If you want to remember Baba, doing something related to Baba, some work, just like how you do at the center, the same way. If you're reading a book or whatever, if you have not much, none other better thing to do, then that itself will help you forget yourself. Obviously, you're reading or doing something related to Baba, and in that process, I guess you're very naturally are with him in some way. So that's what I generally try to do: read a book or do something about, watch a movie or something, and of course, watch other movies too. So that's what happens with me. That's what I thought I'll share. Jai Baba.
Yeah. You know, yeah, I mean, with the thing that really stood out when Eruch said, you know, Baba can live through you even though you're not aware of it. I somehow I felt the truth of that. He didn't say any. It came from a place of truth, and so I felt it was the very truth. So I didn't even have to say, what do you mean by that, or what, you know, give me some proof or anything. It really, that line just was emblazoned in my consciousness, and that's the. But yeah, it's beautiful that Baba read, you know, detective yarns. They watched movies. They went to cricket matches. Baba kind of gave the example of how you can, even God Himself can get into these so-called mundane things. You know, just I always felt that was beautiful. Yeah.
Let's go to Ronnie now.
I was reminded of a story, like an anecdote that somebody told me years ago when Adi was still around, Adi Kairani. And somebody had asked Adi when he was doing all the trust work there, signing people in and getting their IDs and their passports and telling them where to get money changed, all these different activities that he did. Uh, Somebody asked him, "How do you remember Baba when you're so busy doing all these various duties?" And he said, "Well, I don't remember Baba at that when I'm doing all those duties. I'm focusing on doing the duties in a way that Baba would be pleased with. In other words, do them responsibly and accurately. And so, but Baba at that time, he is at the back of my mind, not in the front of my mind, in some type of active saying his name or remembering him in some manner. And that really struck me that I don't know that I took it up right away, but I knew that that's where I was headed at in some point. And So I think I allow Baba to move me to read a book about Baba or not do something, some like you say, mundane thing or whatever. But knowing that he's always there, and whatever I happen to do, whether it be some type of a responsibility that I have, a chore, a duty, do my work to make money, and or to have fun or relax, whatever it is, everything, I can do it in a way, not that that particular thing is essentially a thing that Baba would like or be pleased by, or judge it in that way, but just do it in a way that would be pleasing to him. And if it turns out not to be, then I'm counting on Baba. I'm relying on Baba to let me know if I don't. But one other thing I wanted to say about remembering Baba is something that you can really make into a practice. Like Jeff, you were saying that you did it when you were painting, and so you can do it that way. There's no harm. I know people who had that. It came natural to them, and it probably served. And Baba was probably very pleased by them doing it that way. But the other thing is self-forgetfulness. I think self-forgetfulness is something that you cannot practice or consciously accomplish. I think it's something that happens as a result of doing other things and thinking certain ways. And I would say uh, the way that happens is when one makes pleasing Baba more
Hello.
important than pleasing oneself. And so if I can be sure that or not sure, but if I can attempt to please Baba in what I'm doing or saying or thinking, uh, then I think I will be forgetting myself. But I can't force myself to forget myself. And it's sort of like the difference between being honest and being humble. So you can be honest. You can really try to be as honest as you possibly can. You can really make an effort in that respect. But I don't think you can make an effort to be humble. As soon as you do, you pretty much lost it. Anyhow, that's a thought that I have about that.
Thank you. I'm going to skip me for a moment and go to Sabine and Johannes.
Okay. Well, I would feel very bad about forgetting to remember Baba. And then Jeff, you shared exactly this about forgetfulness with me. And that was so helpful because when I go into the garden, I completely forget everything. I get so into it. But these days, I know that is going to happen. So when I go to the garden, I invite Baba and Mira to come with me. And I will say to Baba, you know what will happen? I will look at the butterflies and not remember you. But if you come with me, you will be there already. And I also do that when we have visitors. I will say, oh, Baba, there will be lovely conversations. And I might not think of you, but, come to the table and talk to all of us. And then I know you will be there, even if I don't remember you actively, and that really works for me.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautifully expressed, and the lovely sentiment. That's how it's done. Well, what does Johannes do? I mean, is he just kind of watching TV and everything the whole time?
Oh, I have always a bit of a bad consciousness when I'm forgetting Baba, and when I remember forgetting him, I remember him. So it's a balance between self-forgetfulness and remembering him in my life.
Beautiful. Yeah. And with your heartbeat, you have.
Yeah, that has not vanished, but I guess that it was my first experience with Baba. My heartbeat, that I think of Baba with every heartbeat I can feel, but now it had not has totally vanished, but
It's less.
it's less. Yeah, it's less now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but in between, I had a bad consciousness because having forgotten Baba, but it helped me. Your email. I read 2 days ago that I don't have to have a bad consciousness, but now I hope I'm fine with it now.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, it was immensely helpful to me, and
Yeah.
that's why I put it there.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to mention, going back what Ronnie said, I once asked Eruch about humility, and he said, you can cultivate, kindness and patience and this and that, but humility is something that's emanated. It's not like something you can, um, I don't know. I think you emanate it, you reflect it. It's not like something you get in, you say, I'm going to be humble in this situation. That was interesting. It's a deeper quality than the emotions and feelings that we express. It's a reflective quality, is kind of what he said. Anyway,
All right. So we'll go to me. I think it's kind of like suffering. It's the one thing that makes me think of Baba pretty quickly. And so not remembering him too, when all of a sudden I'll get out of my pattern of my morning ritual and I will forget to do my morning ritual, or I get myself into a conversation with someone that I think afterwards, oh man, I almost said, oh Jesus, oh Baba, I wish I had asked you to come with me on this. I might not have shot myself in the foot so badly. But when I do remember him, it is very empowering. I think to not have the Jewish guilt, the Catholic guilt, or whatever kind of guilt about it. Baba just says, remember his name. Now, where it gets tricky for me is when something bad is about to happen, or he says, when you take your last breath, say my name. And I think of when things have happened to me, like I've fallen, I don't remember his name. I don't have, talk about getting out of my body. I totally leave it. And I'm totally not in my brain at all, let alone remembering Baba. But I'm afraid if I don't say Baba on my last breath, I don't get to be with him. But I guess I won't know about that.
no, Baba says really, Mani asked Baba about what happens, at your moment of dying. Even if you forget Baba's name, it's the same. You will, but it's just a good practice. But it's not like, oh, you didn't say my name, so you got to go over in this category there. But what you said about guilt there and everything. There was one place in Ohio that it was a small town. They didn't have enough population to have a synagogue or a cathedral, for the Catholics. So they made one house of worship, both combined. And you know what they called it? Our Lady of Perpetual Guilt. Anyway, okay.
I'd be a pilgrim there. Let's go. I'm going to go to Mayor Sagar.
So, you mentioned that the computer work, right? So most of the people who work in like software field, like all of us, we do get engrossed in the work, and then we tend to forget Baba. But as Erich said, that everything has come into existence to remember him. So I believe one of the technological advancements with smartphones is I do have an alarm set like at 12 p.m. every day, And then I have a meeting every day at 12 p.m. So when I'm in the meeting, this alarm rings, and then automatically I remember Baba at that time. So that's one of the ways I have found to remember him. And then you talk about games, like football game or something. So when I watch cricket, that is one game where, I tend to lose myself. I get engrossed. 10 years back, I was watching a final between final World Cup between India and Sri Lanka, and India was precariously positioned in the match, and they were almost losing it. And then in comes the Indian captain, whose name was MS Dhoni. So I was watching this with so much intensity along with my wife, and then so she said, "Are we going to win?" And I said, "Only." And immediately I said, "Only MS Irani can help MS Dhoni to win this match." And then suddenly I remembered Baba, and then India won the match when they lifted the World Cup. So during games, when I get engrossed, there are times at times, we remember Baba, but not all games India wins. So that's again Baba's will. So that's how I remember Baba, the self-forgetful way.
Beautiful. Yeah. And, you might have influenced that game too, It's funny. You sometimes see people, around the World Series or something. They'll go into the tomb with a New York Yankees hat, and kind of what they're doing in the tomb. They're trying to ask Baba to kind of you know help their team win. But go ahead. We got Tony again.
Tony.
Yes, I forgot this, but last time I raised my hand. A different facet of this. In the discourses on karma, there's a line that really leapt out at me at some point. Any action that doesn't have the wholehearted support of one's innermost being is quick in inviting its opposite. And I became really interested in that whole idea of how do I know if I have the wholehearted support of my innermost being? And Course in Miracles has something very similar on how to decision making, that you check in. And if when you go, you consider the two options that you have, say, and if when you think of one, you feel peace, and you think of the other one, you have all sorts of thoughts and agitation. Well, that peace is your innermost being saying, go with that one. So I've spent time really developing the sense of a connection with my innermost being, which is, after all, Baba, right? I mean, what else could it be? And so I do find that while it's not easy to take Baba's name while you're engaged in a conversation or doing something, it is possible to check in with your innermost being and to just feel what's going on there at the moment, and to stay in Baba's presence that way. Sometimes repeating his name, sometimes not, but feeling that sense of this is where Baba is in me. If something comes up that's like a crisis or a sudden thing, well, certainly Baba's name will come out immediately. And one example that just came to mind, I was in India, walking towards the theater in Mehrabad, Lower Mehrabad, with some woman who had just been sent to India and knew little about Baba. And we were walking towards the theater, and I was strumming my guitar, and the bullocks were there. And at some point, this peaceful bullock went, "Roar!" And instantly, I was strumming the guitar. I went, "Baba, Baba, 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 Baba." And the bullock got so calm and so quiet and went back to like grazing or whatever it was. And she said, "That's amazing. I heard Eruch talk about this, but there it is. You took Baba's name and everything stopped." But so the thing is about tuning into one's innermost being. You can still be present in a conversation and also be present with Baba in you, like right now in this conversation, without taking his name particularly.
Yeah, very good point, Tony. I wanted to switch over. What about Anthony? I'm just curious, what how you experience this.
Wow, that is this is a really deep topic, especially because my work and nursing, especially all the years in the ICU, those are 12 and a half, 13-hour shifts there. And a lot of times your first break wouldn't come up for, 7 to 8 hours or more. So yeah, I would do my best to remember Baba before going in, and just kind of get comfortable with some kind of intense things going on inside of you. It's funny, Jeff, I was just listening to your presentation on the new life on Bao's book editing, and you were talking about how the Mandali all talked about having to endure the what were the three words you said? It was the humiliation, the discomfort, the exhaustion, and how to get comfortable with having those feelings going on and not trying to escape from having to sit in that. So I kind of treated some of those times in nursing as that, like kind of remember Baba, kind of like you're about to jump into some cold water and like take his name and then kind of jump in, get comfortable with those feelings for a long stretch, and then I'd go straight from the floor, every shift, right down to the chapel in the hospital, and I'd sit down there and I'd remember him and I'd try to release all those heavy emotions, and so I wouldn't carry it into the next day. So yeah, absolutely. I was trying to do it on the floor when, talking to patients and passing meds, and I was like, wow, this is kind of impossible. So yeah, definitely resonate. Remember him when you can. And when you're doing your work, just remember him, dive in. If it's peaceful work, that's nice. You're like in a peaceful flow. If it's not so peaceful, kind of get comfortable with the intensity. And then when you come out of it, just try to remember him again. So yeah, thank you. This is a great topic. Oh wow, something's
If you're in an emergency room, you're in a realm of great intensity often, with all the pain and what people are going through, and you have to be very present so you don't mess up on someone's medication or whatever. Yeah.
I think one of the important things too was I don't know, just being okay with not feeling okay a lot, because I'd kind of get down on myself like, wow, why do I have this level of anxiety or this or that? And after a while, I was like, wow, maybe that's just what these situations are. And you kind of just get comfortable with a certain baseline amount of, feeling kind of anxious in those situations. So that was another part of it, is just being okay with kind of feeling like a little bit of a mess a lot of times.
Yeah. I remember I asked Meherji, what he did about worry. He was one of the Mandali. And he went, worry, around Baba. He gave this gesture. I mean, it was, he was like worrying a lot, but it was worrying in the cause of trying to carry out things for Baba. And I remember Eruch saying when they would have all these baggage and everything, and the train would be coming, some of these stops would be just for a couple of minutes. And Eruch said he'd just be terrified. How are we going to get all of this baggage in there and get Baba in, sometimes through a window and everything? And each of these scenes are just like nightmares. So, I always felt good about that. Like, I'm not supposed to stay calm through everything. I mean, there's Eruch, going through the great anxiety and fright. He said, I'd be frightened trying to get Baba on, and all these suitcases and baggage and everything like that.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing because these, the Mandali, I mean, Bob had said, some of these people are going to be liberated, some are coming back as perfect masters, and they're experiencing all of these crazy emotional states. And, like before coming to Baba with being into regular meditation and mindfulness. So yeah, you're supposed to feel peaceful all the time. And it's kind of a relief hearing that the greatest souls on the planet were, not necessarily feeling that all the time.
Yeah. And it's in the cause of serving Bob and pleasing him, so that's really what's going on. And the anxiety is part of the collateral damage of carrying out these requests. Yeah. I'll just turn to Emmy. Anything that comes to mind for you, you can pass if you want.
What comes to mind for me is that if there's ever a moment, either at work, if I'm with a difficult situation and I don't know what to do, I just like beg God to let me be a vessel and just whatever, however it can serve the situation, like please help, please help. And then also I'm in a heated conversation. I just like beg to not speak from a place of reactivity. Like I beg for help with that. I think that's probably the biggest times that I really deeply remember. And then I remember once I was like, getting a medical procedure and I was like also begging for help. And I think also the times of great gratitude are when I really remember. Jim Meyer has that song, Thank You, Meher Baba, thank you. And Anthony and I come up with 1,000 million different lyrics to that song. Every time anything small or big happens that's good, we're like, thank you, Meher Baba, for this, and thank you, Meher Baba, for that. And like the little, like, this dinner is delicious, thank you, Meher Baba, or this tremendous life-changing thing happened, thank you, Meher Baba, for doing that. So I think in gratitude and fear, when there's strong emotions, is when I remember the most.
Yeah, beautiful. I know my constant prayer is help, Help. Help. I mean, like Tony said, he could go out and act the part, but if you ask Baba to kind of be a part of it, it can expand what happens, And I'm not real, if I'm just doing things, I mean, that's, where's that at? If Baba can eclipse me to some extent, I feel good about it, and to invite him to do that, Yeah.
Let's go over to New York to Robert.
Hey, everybody. I work with sponsees in a 12-step program. And I know for myself, when I put my attention on trying to help another human being to see himself, to see God, to experience God, I forget myself completely. But I experience God, experience Baba in the process, just by my, being there for another human being and trying to help them. I'm forced to forget about myself because I'm focusing on service to another human being. So, yeah. And it was kind of went along with what I shared earlier about when I think of others, I think of loving others that I can't love. And sometimes I work with sponsees that I don't feel love for. I mean, they're not being very lovable, to say another word, but I find love for them. And it's very, very rewarding. Very rewarding. Thank you.
I got a phone call there, so I missed out. But yeah, I feel like you say, making the effort to love someone you cannot is love itself. Even if you're not doing what you feel is a satisfactory job, I feel Bob is very touched that we make these attempts, and try to overcome our reaction with love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go down the East Coast to Florida and go here.
Uh-oh, you're muted, Goer.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Jai Baba. I put my hand, but I forgot to unmute. Anyway, yeah, so, as you know, I'm from a Baba family. So Baba's always been in my life in one way, shape, or the other. But in the early years, it was easy to get caught up with family affairs and whatnot. And then Baba would be in the back burner kind of thing. but it just amazes me how sometimes he comes to you when you're in need of him, or in a very stressful situation. So I remember this one time when this was my second pregnancy. My first one had gone wonderfully natural, whatever. But the second one, I was not so fortunate, and I had to face my first major surgery, and it was a C-section, of course. And there I was, sitting all anxious, nervous, didn't know what to expect. I was, very, very tense. And the anesthesiologist, before he started the case, talks to the patient and explains what is going to happen and whatnot. But instead of addressing me as Gohar, he addressed me as Meher. So he said, now Meher, this and this will happen first, and then we'll go on to this, and then Meher. And every time he said Meher, I thought, oh, Baba, you are here. So I was this sense of peace just came over me. I was totally at peace after that. I knew Baba was right there. And I said, Baba, whatever happens, it's in your hands. So, even though you're not consciously thinking of him sometimes, he reminds you to think of him. And this is how it happened. So, yeah. But nowadays, it's become so effortless and my best times are when I think of him very naturally, very spontaneously, mostly when I'm happy, or like this morning, it was a beautiful day here, gorgeous weather, and we went out for a walk. And I was just thanking him profusely for everything, for the beautiful weather, for the time to spend with him and in nature and so forth. So, Jai Baba. That's it.
Where would this anesthesiologist get the name Meher?
He himself, Jeff, was Turkish. He was of Turkish ancestry. So I don't know whether he just misconstrued my name. Instead of Gohar, he kept saying Meher. And Meher is a pretty common Turkish name. So so there you are.
Great, yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's go to Ron and then to Peter.
Oh, I wanted to comment on Meher's story and now Gohar's story too, because they have some similarities. In other words, something spontaneously happened that brought Baba into a situation that you wouldn't necessarily have been making any effort to bring him into it. He came by himself. He came to you instead of you coming to him, in an active trying to remember him. And so I think that happens because Baba makes a big thing about love. And when you love him, it's a give and take. He says, love is the greatest give and take in existence. That's a quote. And so I think sometimes he gives you a special thing, knowing how much you would love for it to happen. In other words, it's just it tickles you, he gives it to you. Maybe he has an agent or something around, and he says, whenever somebody is really receptive, go ahead and say something clever that makes them remember me spontaneously.
Great, yeah, beautiful.
Let's go to Peter.
Well, hello everybody. I have a question. I wanted to see if Tony wouldn't mind clarifying something that he said. Would you mind, Tony, trying to clarify something? Because I was listening very intently to what you were saying about the Course in Miracles. What I heard you say is that when there's a choice, there's one choice where you feel peace inside, and there's another choice where you feel like chaos. What I think I heard you say is that what the choice of peace is telling you is go take the other choice, the one that has more turmoil in it.
Mm-mm.
No?
Oh, no,
well,
no.
I think because it was a source of growth that, take the growth, take the turmoil because it was a source of growth. Okay.
You take the choice that your inner being is at peace with.
Peace. Okay.
Yeah. There was one other thing. Let me see if I can remember it now. Oh, yeah, this has to do with also intuition and listening to your inner being. I had a situation this weekend, was something that I thought was, it was a choice had to be made, and I was very happy about how the thing was going along, and I was happy about it yesterday, and I was happy about it today, and suddenly I found myself getting more and more a little agitated, and it reached a point where I got very cranky, and I asked everybody to really be quiet, and I was even, I think, a little bit rude. And then later I had to explain myself, which means I had to check in, and it was clear after checking in that my innermost being was saying, this is a really bad choice you're about to make. And you've been going along and oh, it's fine and it's wonderful because you've got all your own ideas. But listen to me, I know this is not a good choice. And you don't have to understand why. And so in that case, I had to go with the agitated feeling. But when I got clarity on the decision, then the peace came with that also. So yeah, it's listening to the peace. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't quite understand how that last part. It almost sounded like the opposite was true, that when you went to the chaos and you expressed the chaos, that created peace.
No, I expressed the chaos, the need for silence is what it was, so that I could check in. And when I finally checked in, then it was clear that the choice that brought peace was not the choice that I had been advancing. And the choice that I had been advancing would be harmful in the long run. So no, it was, but the agitation was Baba reaching out and pushing me to say, check in, check in, check in. And when I checked in, it was clear that there was no peace in that other choice that I was making. And the peace was with the first alternative.
Yeah.
If that's any better.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of went through the agitation to the peace behind it.
Yes.
You know. Hey, I wanted to ask Christina, just see, I mean, you can pass on this, Christina, or you might be, are you there? You know,
I'm here. I'm just not very, I will do my best to answer your question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, like you have a pretty intense job, you know, both, I guess, the politics of the place and then the people you deal with. How does, how do you find, how do you remember Baba in all of that?
As many times a day as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's challenging. But you know, I have a routine that I try and stick to. I say Baba's name on the way to work, and that kind of centers me. And then I say the prayers when I park. And that seems to be a really great way to start the day. When I'm in the midst of my work, though, it's not always easy. But you know, if I feel exasperated, I've learned to say, "Oh, Baba," to myself instead of, "Oh, damn," you know. If
what do you do, Christina? What do you do?
I'm a physician assistant. Yeah. So I work with people all day long and help them with their medical needs. So yeah, and you know, it comes and goes. I can't say I'm rigid and do it every day, but I do my best and I always feel better for it. When I have a difficult person, I try and remember I'm serving the Baba in them, you know. Or a difficult moment, I'll step away, and I've learned to breathe really deeply at work. And just take a moment, even if it's just for 2 seconds, to center myself. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that reminds me, Monty used to say, Baba's sister, you have to see things through Baba's eyes.
Mm.
And you know, in other words, but these things mean the world to Baba. All these little efforts. You're saying the prayers in your car, saying Baba's name. Those mean the world to Baba. We're just thinking, you know, if we just think it from our side, but think about what, you know, how much this means to Baba. He's got this little lover out there
Yeah.
who's remembering, trying to remember him in and through all these intense situations or, you know, challenging situations. It
Yeah.
don't, I always try to, think, wow, I wonder what, how Baba feels about this. Because and you feel a lot more confidence or you feel the love that he really appreciates all these things. And, you know, and I see it when I'm looking at the Baba lovers here or just listening to you. I think, oh, that's just beautiful. I mean, that means the world to Baba.
No, I didn't even think about it that way. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she,
Mhm.
okay. We got Grand Rapids up there. No, not Grand Junction.
You got a great memory, Jeff. Out of the 2 million people you've talked to on the center, you can remember all their first names. That's good. I had something quick. I was a little, I don't know, shy to say it, but I really, I picked up on what Johan was saying, and I really enjoy watching TV shows that pique my curiosity. Like suspense is my favorite, mystery, anything where there's some unraveling, thing going on. But while doing all this, I've tried to be a little more attentive to how film is made, how the angle they're shooting from, or the way they designed a set, or how they segue from one scene to another scene, several different things like that. And I've discovered that I'm getting a little better at it, but I'm so absorbed in it. But one thing's happened with, there's this one series that I've been watching, and it's so funny and cheerful that it cheers me up every time I watch it. So I go back to it and I watch it, and it's real colorful and it's pretty delightful, and it's really there's one guy, two guys in it, and the rest are all women characters, really, and it's very funny and very well done and very well written. And but I find myself once in a while watching something now. And this is kind of weird, but I'll suddenly look up at Baba's picture behind the TV and go, "Oh, they did that really well. I like the way they wrote that," And I guess I'm sort of including Baba in it, but it's come to me very naturally. It because I think Baba, I don't know, but my interest is in how intelligent this stuff is created. There's so much creativity in it. It's mind-boggling. But so once in a while, gee, Baba, they really wrote that scene well.
Yeah, great.
I don't know.
Lovely. Yeah. Hey, so we're getting, well, not quite. I just wanted Janet Jacobs. Anything that comes to mind for you? Maybe I'll.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
truthfully, Jeff, I'm not 100% sure what the theme is
Oh, okay.
because I joined late. But what I'm picking up on is, what was coming to my mind is that I remember hearing a story, and I don't know which time it was that Baba was on the center, that he asked everyone, now, is everybody in agreement with that I can choose whoever I would like to talk to in the lagoon cabin this afternoon? Do you know what I'm referring to, Jeff, when he said that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so then what happened? He did, and some people got irritated about it because he chose people that not everyone found very easy. not the people, you know, they some difficult people. Am I recalling this correctly, Jeff? Do you remember?
Vaguely. I mean, I can't, wasn't sure whether they were the difficult people, but there were hundreds of people there, and you know, he couldn't see everybody at once. You know.
No, and
Yeah.
but he chose the same people over again several times,
Yeah.
and not other people.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I took from that is that there are certain people that I find irritating. And I think to myself, okay, I'm sure this is going to be a person that Bob chooses to spend a lot of time with, much to my own dismay, you know, and that Baba finds delight in. And so it gives me another perspective on understanding how Baba loves everyone, and that irritations that I find come from me and not from the truth, not from Baba. Am I at all on the
Yeah.
right wavelength of what we're talking about tonight,
Yeah.
Jeff? Okay. So
Yeah.
I bring Baba into my relationships, or into certain relationships by, you know, playing this kind of Baba game with myself and realizing that how Baba sees everyone. Well, I just recently I listened to a Erwin Locke thing, the one where he's at the NPR recently, and he says with Baba it was a come as you are party, and it just makes me realize that everybody just came as who they are to Baba, and that's who he opened his heart to, or that, you know, that's yeah. And so it gives me a way to tune myself to Baba more clearly, thinking of these things, of Baba's own actions and behaviors, and that when I'm off that key, when I'm off key, then it gives me a pathway to move back closer to Baba.
Yeah. Beautifully expressed. I remember asking Darwin, you know, there were all these difficult personalities and there were conflicts, you know, among people. There was even a little prejudice towards some of the, you know, African Americans and you know, this kind of stuff going on. And I said, how did Baba respond to that? I mean, obviously you're seeing some of these conflicts going on. And Darwin said Baba seemed oblivious, meaning he just, you know, he was kind of looking at the soul of these people and not their skirmish, not the way their personalities clashed. He's looking more at the you know, the essence of them. I was kind of surprised at that. You know, I mean, he was on a higher frequency and not the lower frequency where you run into conflicts. You know?
Well, and in relationship to that, I listened to that Zoom meeting with you and the Asheville group about the New Life book that you sent
Mhm.
out to us.
Yeah.
And you were talking about at one point about mononash, and about how that is, it's the annihilation of the lower mind, not
Yeah.
the universal mind,
Yeah.
not the mind that's connected. We still have to be practical and conduct our lives and everything, but and that's the self, that lower mind or self. It, for me, I think that gets triggered by personalities that rub up against my personality in some way.
Yeah.
And so I just worked to remember Baba, how Baba, like I said, you know, would invite those people people that I might find irritating, he might want to spend more time with than anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it just helps me gain a more global perspective outside of that lower mind.
Yeah. Beautiful. You know, you're saying this too reminds me of one thing that there was one old follower of Baba, Henry Kishouty. He was a judge, Henry and Kishouty, and he had met Baba up in New York, and you know he felt really such a closeness with Baba. I mean, he was just, you know, could hardly keep his hands from just touching Baba. He was really that was in New York, but then when Baba came down here, he was one of those people waiting outside, you know, to be called into the lagoon cabin. And he was just, you know, Baba didn't call him in. And one day went by, and another day, Baba isn't. I thought you know, he's thinking, I thought we really had something tight here, you know. And another, you know, day goes by. I think 3 days went by. And see, he's staying in an apartment in town. And he's, you know, this is really profoundly disturbing because Baba hasn't called him at all. And then he had this thought, you know, if Baba wanted to see me, he would call me. You know, I have to accept that, you know, not force myself on him. The moment that thought came to him, the phone came and Baba said to Henry, Baba wants to see Henry. So he let go of pushing himself on Baba. And the moment he let go and surrendered to what is, Baba, you know, the phone rang and he was called in to see Baba. You're saying that just reminded me of that scene. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So now we're getting close. We'll go for Ronnie here. And I don't, Marta, did you get that poem? Okay, good. We've got a nice poem from Rumi that Marta will read. But go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what you and Janet were saying, that Baba is here to help. He's not here to change everything, change our karma, or do something for us or something like that. He's here to help us, and he knows how to do it in the most perfect, most masterful way. So that if you need to be tested, if you need something tested, he's here to test you. Whatever it doesn't matter what you think is what he should be doing. He knows what he's doing. And so because of that perfect knowing that he has, he can give us exactly what we need at the exact time that we need it, and withhold something in the exact way we need to be withheld. And so if we learn that, we've done away with a tremendous amount of what's keeping us from him. You know, the desires and the expectations and all anticipations, all of that gets burned up in the way Baba can give us his divine masterful help.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Yeah.
You know, before we have Marta reads this poem, I'm just putting this out here. If you folks want to go back to the going through effort and grace again, if that's anybody does that, I'm throwing that out there. If you folks think about going back to that, we'll take a we'll take a reading on that at some point. See where you guys are at. Okay. I see. I guess I should ask when more people are on the screen. So let's. So, Marta.
Yes. This is a Rumi poem that I've read before, and I love it dearly. I can be without anyone, but not without you. That's the one, right, Jeff?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can be without anyone, but not without you. You twist my heart, you dwell in my mind, and you fill my eyes. You are my joy. I can't be without you. You are my sleep, my rest, the water that I drink. You are my clarity, my dignity, my world. I can't be without you. Sometimes you are kind, sometimes unfaithful. You break my heart, but my love, my essence, do not go away. I can't be without you. You are the head, I am the feet. You are the hand, I am your banner. If you leave, I will perish. I can't be without you. You have erased my image. You've taken my sleep. You've torn me away from everybody, but I can't be without you. I find no joy in life or relief in death. Why don't you say it too? I can't be without you.
Beautiful. Let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba.
Jeff, when do you want to think about starting the effort in grace if we decide to do it?
Yeah, any one of these weeks.
Like next week?
Well, not next week because we
Okay.
have to get a little more of a consensus on it. You know.
Do you want to change it, Jeff? Do you want to go back to that?
Well, I mean, we did it for a good while there. I just would it be helpful to go back through the book? In light of all that we've kind of shared here, it's amazing. You go back to something like that and you see it from a different camera angle. The same words, but you have a different, a deeper meaning than they have. So we'll float that around.
Jeff, last time you had done like 3 weeks of effort and grace and 1 week of
Oh
another
yeah,
topic.
yeah.
So that would make,
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm your straight woman.
Yeah, we did the first week. We did a topic, and then the following week's effort and grace. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it. But thank you for all your sharing. This is beautiful, and I think you really helped clarify. I mean, all these things, just the way everybody, uh, works with Bob throughout the day. Different ways of relating to him. I mean, it's very touching for me to hear. And any last minute comments? Anything?
I just want to thank Sabine and Johan for getting up so early in the morning.
Yeah.
It's just what we do on Monday mornings now. We don't even think about it. We go to
Yeah.
bed early Sunday evening, and that's that. It's like when you go to work, you just do it.
Fröhlich.
Yeah, it's
It
easy.
should be Sabine Fröhlich. Isn't it Fröhlich? No, what does early mean? What's the word for early?
Oh, früh. So it's the beginning of,
Morgen früh.
yeah,
Früh.
morgen früh.
Yeah. Early morning. That's what they're. It's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in Germany.
Well, it's 5:15 now.
Yeah, yeah. That's you should be up by now. Yeah.
I'm just grateful.
Well,
for
we're going to bed now.
Oh,
Again.
Okay. Well, we have to get before we can go. We have to get Nasreen if she's there.
Yes, she's there, Jeff.
Okay, give us the final gong here.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba.
hey, Baba.
Thank you,
Wow.
Jeff. Thank you,
Hey,
Jeff.
Thank you. Love to Mahmoud and
Yes.
Payam and Ellie.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And Orang.
So,
Okay.
so can we go back to taking Baba's name now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you have a nice week, and now you can watch the Oscars.
Hmm.
Jai Baba,
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba, Jai
Much
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you,
Jai
Jeff.
Baba.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all. Yeah.